Hi there, do you sometimes find it difficult to differentiate between few, a few, fewer, little, a little, or less? If so, no worries. Today we will clarify all these aspects and hopefully you will start using these words a bit more consciously. So without further ado, let's kick off. Let's start our episode. First of all, I'd like to give you a bit of a theory regarding little, a little and less, because I suppose this is the easiest way to distinguish these structures. So have a look. Actually, this little, a little, less, all these words are used with uncountable nouns. So these are simply nouns that you're not able to count, right? So very often these are some kind of abstract ideas, for instance, and I've provided some example. So an uncountable noun could be time, money, work, information, effort. So I hope you get the idea more or less. So the first tip to remember about little, a little, less, all of them are used with uncountable nouns. And now let's have a look at each element, each word separately. So let's start with little. Little is actually mało in the Polish language, so not enough of something, right? But still it is used with uncountable nouns. Remember that. And let's have a look at some example. We have too little money to go on holiday. I guess this example is quite straightforward. We have too little money. I guess you wouldn't really use this few here, right? It's quite basic. But now let's move on to another one, which is a little. So you see, little without a is like mało. But if you add this a at the beginning, then it means that you have a bit of something, okay? So it's not mało, it's some. Trochę in Polish. So, an example, I have a little time so we can grab some coffee. So here, it's not like you have little time, because probably if you had little time, then you wouldn't be able to grab some coffee. But while you have some time, you have a little time so you can grab some coffee. Does it make sense? I hope it does. And now let's have a look at less. Less is simply used whenever you want to use this comparative mode. So when you want to compare certain situations, have a look. I have less work than I used to have, or than I used to, simply. So you just want to say that you have less work than, for instance, you had last year. So all these are used with uncountable nouns, remember, but of course each word has a slightly different meaning. Little, mało, a little, trochę, less, mniej. And now, time to move on to this trickier version, these structures which are maybe not so known to you. So this is few, a few, and fewer. And as you probably can imagine, these structures are actually used with countable nouns as opposed to this little, a little, and less. Countable nouns, these are simply nouns that can be counted, right? Example, people, projects, ideas, tasks, meetings, all these words are countable, right? And now let's have a look at each word separately, like in the case of little, a little, and less. So we had little for uncountable nouns, and that was mało, and here for these countable nouns, we simply have few, okay? And that also means mało. An example, few people came to the meeting. So you can't say obviously little because people are countable, right? That's why you say few people came to the meeting. Process this sentence if you need to. Stop this video if you want to read this example once again, and if not, the other one. Now we are again adding this a article here, so a few. And again, we had a little, which meant trochę for uncountable nouns, and here for these countable nouns, we will simply have a few. Right? So remember, whenever you're adding this a, then it means that there is a bit of something. Few and little, mało. A few and a little, it's like some. Okay? Let's have a look at the example. We have a few ideas to share. We have a few ideas to share. Of course, you could also replace it with some. We have some ideas to share. So some is used with both countable and uncountable nouns, but a little for uncountable nouns, few for a few for countable nouns. So you actually have to be careful, because if you said we have few ideas to share, that would mean mało pomysłów. But if you say we have a few ideas to share, that means we have some ideas to share. I hope you're with me. Let's have a look at the last one, and this is fewer. Please bear in mind that we can't say fever. Fever is gorączka, okay? It's spelled with V, and here it's fewer, okay? Fewer. And this is like less, but obviously less is for uncountable nouns and fewer is simply for countable nouns. So, an example, there were fewer people than yesterday. And I have to tell you that if I were to teach you one thing during this class, during this episode, that would be the difference between fewer and less. Because I suppose this is the most common mistake students make. So they mixed up less and fewer. And consequently, very often I can hear, there were less people than yesterday. So they use less with people. But people, this is a countable noun, which means we can't use less. We need to use fewer. And that's the most important lesson for you today. Fewer, countable, less, uncountable, whenever you're comparing something. And now I would like to show you this final summary of all these structures so that you could get a better idea, okay? So firstly, let's compare a little and a few. I have a little time, time is uncountable, versus I have a few hours, hours are countable, right? A little, a few, it's like some. Next one, little and few. So I have little work or I have little time. These are uncountable nouns, right? And I have few projects or few duties, countable nouns. And again, little, few, it means mało, like not enough. If you add a, then it's already some. Okay? I hope it's clear. Next one. Less and fewer. I have less money, less time, uncountable. And then we have fewer clients, fewer meetings, countable. And these words simply mean mniej. What do you think? Do you like the way I've explained it? I hope that now it's clear, more or less, but I've prepared one short exercise so that you could test yourself as usual. So let's get started, let's get down to work. Sentence number one, so you're actually supposed to fill in the sentence with the proper word. So stop the video, think about the answer, possibly, and now I'm gonna read the full sentence with the answer. So we have a few options to choose from. A few because options are countable, and also you want to say kilka. You don't want to say mało, that would be few. You want to say kilka, so a few. Next one, number two. Stop the video. Try to fill it in with the right word. And the answer. Our company has gone bankrupt because it had few clients. Clients, countable, and here you actually mean mało. Sentence number three. You have actually two gaps here, so you need to use two words. And the answer. Now we have less work and fewer tasks than before. So you see work uncountable, so we have less, and tasks countable, so we have fewer. Of course, here you wanted to say mniej, so this kind of comparative mode, that's why we have less and fewer. Sentence number four. Stop the video, think about the answer. Due to the financial situation of our company, we are given fewer benefits than last year. Fewer benefits, benefits are countable, and you also have this comparison here than last year, so fewer benefit than last year. I hope you haven't put less here. That's a common mistake, so if it's happened, no worries, you will get used to it. Remember that less is only used with uncountable nouns, okay? Sentence number 5, fill in the gap. There is little coffee left. Can you buy some? So, of course, it depends on the context, but I personally meant mało. So there is little coffee left. If you said there is a little coffee left, that would mean that it's kind of enough. So maybe you don't have to go to the shop yet because there is still a little coffee left. Okay, so if we want to say if we want to say mało, little. If we want to say trochę, a little. Coffee, remember, is uncountable. However, a cup of coffee is countable, of course. But coffee, it's like a substance, so it's not countable. Number 6, stop the video, fill in the gap. And here I would simply say, there are a few aspects that need to be taken into account. That's actually a beautiful sentence you can use in business English. So there are a few aspects that need to be taken into account, consideration, a few aspects. Because you don't mean few, mało, you mean a few, kilka. But of course, if you said there are some aspects that need to be taken into account, that would also be correct. The last 2 sentences, sentence number 7. If I had less stress at work, I would be more satisfied with my job. And this is actually the second conditional, so you can also stop the video and pay attention to the structure. However, less stress, because stress is uncountable, it's a feeling, right? So less stress, mniej stresu. And the last one, number 8. So pay attention, we actually don't have any noun here, right? You only have this verb, I've done. So in this situation with verbs, actually, we can only use this little word. So you can only say, I've done little today. It's like little work. So if you don't have a noun, it's not possible to use few, right? Because few is used with countable nouns. Here there is no noun, so you just want to say I've done little, I've worked little, I've exercised little. So I hope you get the idea. I've been slacking, that means I've been lazing around, I've been super lazy, so I've done little. I hope you've enjoyed this episode and this exercise. As usual, remember that there is this free PDF waiting for you below the video. But of course, if you're subscribed to my newsletter, every time the new episode is released, you will get this notification and also this free PDF in the email, so you don't have to subscribe each time a new video is released, because you will just receive this PDF automatically. Of course, I'm looking forward to your feedback as usual. It simply gives me a lot of power to create more videos for you, and see you soon. Cheers!